Hey, what is up YouTube? In this video I'm going to be doing a review of the MOONDROP CHU IEM. This is a $20 IEM from MOONDROP, and TLDR, this is a must buy. I'm just going to shill it the entirety of the video. It is better than the Aria sonically. Um, Surprisingly enough, it is more or less an upgrade to the Aria in most ways except for the cable. You get better tips, you get the same build, uh, just the cable's not removable. It's $20, like whatever. Just buy three of these for the price of an Aria. So anyway, build quality aside, uh, I gotta talk about the sound. So my initial subjective impressions, I threw these on, I just listened to them, played some Valorant, and then I ran through some sine sweeps. Initially, my first thoughts were that these IMs, they sound just neutral, but they sounded sharp. There was a little bit of sharpness that I remember hearing on the Aria. And the side sweeps in Rue confirmed that. So to my ears, I hear a treble dip at about 8 to 9K, and then a very high SPL peak at 13K. So now that is not that of the world with these IMs, and especially with shallow insertion IMs, you cannot really avoid treble peaks and dips. Um, However, that's one thing to keep in mind, and those are the only flaws with this IM. Like I'm going to say that straight off the bat. Those are the only problems with this IM. Compared to the Aria has the same treble peak, the same upper treble peak, at like 11K, so it's a little bit more noticeable. Uh, it has muddier bass. Like the bass response on this IM is much cleaner than on the Aria. The mids are like the same. So this product is just a little bit baffling. It's literally a Aria for a third of the price. But whatever. Let's look at the graphs. So here we have a graph of the MOONDROP CHU laid on top of the MOONDROP Aria. Shout out to Critical for his graph database. Uh, I was going to show you guys some other graphs from a few other databases, but all the trends between like the Aria, the CHU, and the MOONDROP Blessing 2 are all like more or less the same. So I'm just going to use Crin's tool here. So most notably, when you compare the CHU and the Aria, you can see there's like a significant drop in mid and sub bass. The CHU will basically sound cleaner in the bass. Like one of my issues with the Aria was that it just sounds very warm, very smooth, which is like it's nice. But in terms of neutrality, the Aria is not really neutral. And so the CHU improves on the bass on the Aria. And it also brings a little bit more mid treble, and the treble peak, while still there, it's going to be a little bit higher. I remember on the Aria it was at like 11 or 12K, and on the CHU it's at 13K. So the CHU is just a straight upgrade in terms of sound over the Aria. More importantly, I want to compare this to the Blessing 2 actually, because it's going to highlight how ridiculous this IM is for the price. I mean, this is a $20 IM versus a $300 IM. And if you see, the graphs are extremely close. The CHU is just going to have slightly less smooth treble, and it's going to have a deeper treble dip. And also, this treble peak on the Blessing 2, I did not hear it when I had the Blessing 2. In fact, I thought the Blessing 2's treble was extremely smooth. I wish there was a little bit more upper treble. But other than that, the Blessing 2 is very close to neutral. But even the CHU actually does the sub bass better, which is the Blessing 2's biggest issue. It does the sub bass better, and otherwise just has a little bit of issue in the treble. So this is a $20 IM versus a $300 IM. And even with that being said, the Blessing 2 has a good amount of distortion due to it having balanced armature drivers. Now, of course, whether that's actually audible is completely debatable. I personally don't hear any distortion with the Blessing 2, but for those of you that actually care for no reason, the CHU is probably going to have less distortion because it uses the Aria's dynamic driver, which does not have any distortion. I mean, it's very low distortion. So yeah, that's just a quick look at the graphs. This IM is absolutely insane in terms of sonic performance. And let me just throw in another like cheap IM. So if we look at the CCA CRA, this is one of my other favorite IMs, like for very cheap. And as you guys can see, like there's no contest. The CRA has a bloated bass response. The mids are not neutral. There's a recession in the mids, a bunch of trebles, peaks, and dips. This is an insertion peak, but it's too high for what it's supposed to be. It's almost like that's about 8 dB, whereas it's supposed to be like a 5 dB insertion peak. And the treble extension is better, but it is peaky, so it's going to sound less natural. So overall, the CHU is just tuned way better than the CRA. And another IEM, that's the Tanshim Ola is one that I've been using. And if we compare the CHU to the Ola, first of all, the Ola to me sounds a little bit sterile. That's partly due to the fact that it doesn't have great sub-bass extension. But I mean, otherwise they graph somewhat similarly. The ear gain is at 2.5K rather than 3K. So the Ola sounds a little bit more. It sounds closer to an enigmatic than it does like a Harman tuned IEM. I don't know. They're just different flavors of similar, but the Ola definitely does not do the bass as well. But they are both very good IEMs. So overall, both. I mean, the CHU is just an absolute monster for the price. So to conclude, I'm going to conclude by shilling this IEM. I mean, I've always held Moondrop products in high esteem. I really like the Aria. I really like the Busking 2. I haven't tried their higher end stuff, but I mean, the Aria is really good, and this is just straight up an upgrade to the Aria. For $20, you get a better controlled bass response. You get a better treble response, though you still have that treble peak, the 13K treble peak, which is a bit of a bother if you are treble sensitive, but in every other aspect, this is just a straight upgrade to the Aria, and for 3 times less of the cost. And compared to the Busking 2, it is very close, except for the treble. So, this is a no-brainer purchase. It's a product that really shouldn't exist. It is just exceptional in every way. When you compare it to other $20 IEMs like the CCA CRA, the Zex Pro, this just blows it out of the water. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Just purchase this IEM. If you guys have any questions, if you'd like me to, if you want some more info, if you disagree with me, please leave a comment. I'd appreciate it, or like and subscribe.